Sodiq,
How you feeling, Chief?
welcome to Fight Week.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, where the hell have you been?
Dealing with life and injuries. Trying to put my body back together.
Um, what happened?
Well, you guys already know I've had a few problems with different discs in my spine, so it's just mostly the ones in the lower back and a couple in the neck. So that's really trying to mitigate that and trying to be pain free, trying to live as a regular person before focusing on being a fighter. So if you can't be pain free doing regular people stuff, it's a little bit hard to get into fist fights.
So how has that process been over the past year and a half?
It's getting a lot better. I had the guys at Life Med back in Maryland. They really helped me out a lot. A lot of stem cell shots, a lot of physical therapy, and surgery in the future. But like you said, I've been gone for a while. I didn't want to be gone for 2 years, so I'm gonna hold off on the surgery for a little bit.
Yeah, back surgery is pretty intense. I guess, was that on the table, or like you said, you're gonna push that?
Yeah, but it depends on. I had a couple options, and some were more extreme than others, So depending on which ones I was gonna go with, it was one of those things where it's like, if you do this, your body's never gonna be the same forever, So I kind of try to mitigate it with dealing with the pain first, then actually trying to fix it with surgery.
Yeah, back issues for a professional athlete's kind of scary, right? So I guess what's kind of been your mind and like your thoughts about it all?
I mean, it is what it is, It's I'm a very optimistic guy, positive guy. So, if these are the cards that you're dealt. You just gotta work with it. I get a lot of inspiration from guys like Usman, who people always make fun of his knees all the time, but I think that's very inspirational to me, because he's getting it done, and he was able to become a champion getting it done. So you can't wallow in self-pity on the things that are wrong. You just got to make it work.
Is it safe to say your back's feeling good now?
It's good enough. Good enough to fist fight another grown man on TV.
So speaking of that, man, you're in a weird spot, right? Like, you've never lost two in a row. You're not used to losing. So, how are you feeling coming into this fight?
To be honest, man, short memory is everything is brand new to me. Every single fight is brand new. Even when I was on my winning streaks or whenever I'm winning, every new one is a new challenge. So it's not something I'm really thinking about, to be perfectly honest with you.
The move to lightweight. I know you've kind of been teasing it, and
Yeah.
what was the eventual decision to move to lightweight?
The main thing for me is, one, health wise. The health thing has been a real big thing with me. I was like, I've been fighting at 45 since I was a kid. Since I was I literally wrestled at that weight class. So it's one of those things where I just feel like it didn't make sense. It wasn't very healthy. And from what I've been feeling this week, man, it's been a completely different experience of fight week. It's not as faint or groggy moving around. I have a lot of energy throughout the whole week. I'll see how the weight cut goes. Knock on wood, is super easy, and it also feel like it provides me with a lot of more opportunities. Taking short notice fights was impossible at featherweight. I want to be one of those guys like Kevin Holland that's just jumping into fights all the time. The long layoffs is just it's unfortunate for me. If in a perfect world, I'd be one of those guys like, hey, they could call up like, hey, we have a slot for you to jump in, and I'll be able to take that. And I think lightweight presents a lot of those opportunities for me.
How gnarly were the weight cuts getting at featherweight?
Here's the thing: I've never missed weight before, but it's never been easy. So it's only, and I'm a very disciplined guy. I don't cheat on my diet or anything like that. I actually have a joke that I was telling a couple of my teammates is that I hear about these guys cheating on like their diets during camp, like they're eating ice cream and shit. I'm like, man, I wonder what that's like. Like, I've always been very, very strict with everything I've done, and it's never been easy. So I was like, maybe that's a sign that you're doing a little too much.
And for your first fight at lightweight, you're fighting a featherweight. That's
Yeah. I actually think that works out very well. It's a good test in the water because we're both coming up. It's not, at least I'm not jumping into it and facing the Gleason T battles of the weight class. You know, it's someone that's relatively similar size.
All right, exactly. One last thing about like the weight. Is the move to lightweight permanent?
I don't want to give a definitive answer because I might walk out this room right now and change my mind, you know. But for now, I could say yeah.
Gotcha. What do you think of the matchup with Marion?
It's fun. It's fun, you know. He's another striker, so it's one of those things that it provides. Whenever I see opportunity to get a bonus, I'm always happy, you know. So for striker, the way I naturally fight, Fighter of the Nights is easy to obtain, you know. So that's something that always makes me a little bit happier. But from what I've seen, he's very clean, technical guy, and you guys already know how I fight, so that's gonna be a good night.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it's a ridiculously fun fight. And you kind of already said, like, you know, you're going in this fight kind of thinking fight of the night. So is obviously every fighter wants to go in there, knock their opponent out in the first 30 seconds.
Hands down. Don't listen. I'm not one to lie to you. I see Fighter of the Night on paper just because of our stylistic matchups. If I could walk into a fight and 5 seconds everybody, I'll gladly take that any day.
So at the end of the day, man, like, how do you see yourself getting your hand raised on Saturday?
Get my hands raised. To be honest, I could see a finish happening relatively fast just because I do see some things that are open. But if it's not a fast finish, I don't mind the fight of the night. Like I said, you know, it's one of those things where I don't mind having a long competition, especially because my last one was so fast. I didn't get to show off much. I feel like I want to get an opportunity to actually display my art.
Awesome. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Just one follow-up for me. You know, speaking of the lightweight division, we've seen some recent changes where the champ stepped down. He's heading up to, you know, compete at the welterweight. I guess your thoughts on Ilya versus Charles, you know, going for the belt. You know, I don't know if you have predictions for that. And
that's a fun fight, man. That's a very fun fight. There's a running joke online about Topuria is like, people want to like him, but he just keeps on taking out everybody's favorite fighter, you know? And here he is again fighting Charles, you know? He's a very fun guy to watch, and that's going to be a hard fight, man. I want to see what he looks like at lightweight, you know, because the only person we ever fought him fight was Jai Herbert. So if his power translates the same way it does at featherweight, which I do 100% believe it will, I see him becoming a two-division champ.
And then how do you think Islam does going up and fighting at the welterweight?
Now that's going to be a little harder. Like I don't know how big. I've never seen Islam in person. I don't know how big he is, but that weight class is rough, man. 170, they got a lot of dogs at the top of that weight class, and it's one of those weight class where wrestling is not going to be a problem for the challengers. You know, there's a lot of good guys that have either good wrestling defense or they are the wrestlers themselves. Like, I can see him and like Sean Brady having a hard time, you know, him and Usman having a hard time, you know, like he might have a little bit easier times with some of the strikers, but even the strikers move around relatively well to where they can avoid him. That's going to be a little bit harder for him than it will be for Topuria.
Did you watch the fight between Bilal and Jack? Did you? And
Yeah,
I was going to wonder what your thoughts, because a lot of people, you know, Jack's a decent-sized guy himself, you know. So what did you think of that performance and him getting that belt?
It was a great performance, man, because Bilal's a dog, you know, but Jack was just a little bit better technically on the striking, you know. It was a good fight. A lot of people are giving Bilal a slack online about how the fight went, but it wasn't. People watch stuff with revisionist history. It was a very close fight. When you watch it, it wasn't like he was getting like destroyed. You know, it was a very close fight. But man, Jack Della, man, his boxing is good, man. I like the stuff I see from him.
Yeah, his striking looked real good, and I think a lot of people, when they look at Islam, they think, okay, he's just another version, kind of like Bilal, but maybe better in that. When it comes to the takedown and doing that, how do you rate the differences between those two?
That's what I'm saying. To be honest, I don't think he's that much of a difference from Bilal, you know. It's like, if he is better than Bilal, it's not so drastic that's like he's going to take over the division. I think that's going to be a hard task. But then again, I've never seen what he looks like. He might show up at 170 looking like that, you know, so that might be it.
Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Two quick ones for me. Last year, you posted something on social media where you picked up a new skill. You were learning how to fish and
Yes.
maybe talked about living off the grid. With everything going on with grocery prices and stuff, have you done any more fishing and have put any more thought into living off of the grid?
Listen, a while ago, I think back in the day, Gregor Gillespie, he got on the mic and he was like, "I'm the best fisherman in the UFC." Well, I'm here to officially announce I'm the worst fisherman in the UFC. Listen, I've caught like 2 fish since I started my fishing journey, you know. But recently, I bought a RV boat that you could drive the boat into the middle of the water, and it'll dump your line into the water for you. So my hope is the further I cast the line, the more fish I'll be able to get. But yeah, my fishing skills aren't that great.
Just one last one for me. One of the most entertaining social media series, I think, in the last couple of years were your well-predicted fight picks, I think. Why did we stop doing those, and when can we hope to see them again?
A lot of people have been getting on me about stopping Unprofessional Breakdown, man. I was getting to the point where it's like, I put a lot of time into making them, you know, and because it wasn't garnering the view, it was very demoralizing. But that's just me getting in my own headspace. And I also wanted to take a time away from a lot of MMA stuff because, like I said, when I was dealing with all that injury, like my spine stuff and the disc stuff, I really did not want to think about fighting because it was so depressing, you know. So that's another reason why I stopped making them. But I've had a lot of people get on me about the Unprofessional Breakdowns, and I don't want to give a timeline yet of when I'll start doing them again, but I will, you know, because every time I'm watching the cards, I'll think about jokes, and I'm like, I'll do it later. But don't worry, I'll bring them back for sure.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.